Okay, get going.
The Honorable the Speaker.
Welcome, everybody. Before we begin, let's just start with a prayer. Uh, Heavenly Father, oh Lord, I thank you today for bringing us all here today. I thank you, Lord, for the opportunities to let us take part in this debate. I pray, oh my Father, that you'd calm every ounce of anxiety and help us all to do well in this debate, oh Lord. Everyone who's not here yet, I pray that you'll bring them quickly so that we would be able to keep all of our good marks. I pray, oh Lord, that everybody would be able to get along properly and that we would have a successful debate today. I thank you once more for bringing us here, and I pray that everything goes well. In your name we pray. Amen.
Photo affirmations, announcements by the Speaker.
Okay. There are no ministers which have requested leave from today's particular sitting. I remind all present members to remain mindful of the guidelines which govern this House. Please note that when speaking, if your time has expired, you will be informed and you would be expected to cease talking immediately. The Minister, Chief Toymaker, has requested that the topic, Leaders are born and not made, be debated first. All those in favour, please indicate by a show of hands. Any against? Okay, the hands have it. The topic, Leaders are born and not made, will be debated first.
Bills brought forward by the Senate, provisions, papers, statements by the ministers.
I have received the following correspondence dated December 20th, 2022, from the Minister of Bringing People Together. Leaders are born and not made. Could the Minister of Bringing People Together please produce their opening statement?
Good day, everyone. I know there's a lot of surveys done throughout the years to justify whether leaders are born or not or made. During my time of research, the majority of 70% of people throughout the world believe that leaders are made and not born. But we, the minority of 30%, are here to justify why we think that leaders are born and not made. Our team, the Red Nose Nation, is going to change your mind and have you think differently. How are we going to justify the statement, you may ask? Here are a couple of reasons why we believe that leaders are born and not made. Through scientific experiment, this debatable statement has been proven right. In the 60s, teenagers took a personality test and answered various questions, and in 2010, those questions have been compared to the same group of people 50 years later, resulting in the same response, for they have still believed or were confident in their answers. Despite what they experienced, their opinions remained the same. This experiment proved that they were born with unique traits and personalities that make them a leader simply in the environment in which they were brought up. Also, psychologists and neuroscientists at Wake Forest University, North Carolina, discovered that those in leadership positions have more brain activity in their frontal and prefrontal lobes. The frontal lobes is responsible for cognitive skills such as expressing emotions, solving problems, the ability to judge, and the ability to retain memory, and using language skills. The prefrontal lobe is involved in even more complex cognitive skills such as making decisions, regulating social behavior, and expressing personality. All of the above skills are critical for leadership roles. And I'm going to pass you on to, this is my point, and I'm going to pass you on to the next speaker.
Thank you. We'll now be taking a 2-minute intermission before the next speaker takes the floor.
Excuse sir, do you mind just pausing the recording for a bit?
No, I won't be able to. Why?
Because our minister of bringing people together, read out the whole document, which is combined with a lot of our points.
Yeah, but
No.
the others have to develop the argument.
Okay.
If that issue has been resolved, the 2 minutes has passed, so we would now be resuming the sitting of the House. I call upon the Minister, Chief Scout Elf Trainer.
Good afternoon, members of Parliament. Good afternoon, Madam Speaker. Good afternoon to the opposition. So first of all, I want to establish that the real point that should be being made is that a good leader is more important than being a leader in and of itself. That's to say that even if a person may be born with a certain level of confidence that more than others, which is already arguably developed through their personal experience, does not mean that they will have the necessary skills to be a good leader. So this first point comes from an article titled The Determinants of Leadership Role Occupancy, Genetic and Personality Factors. So in this article, a study was conducted to investigate the influence of genetic factor and personality on leadership role occupancy among a sample of identical twins compared to a sample of fraternal twins. The results indicated that only 30% of the variance in leadership role occupancy could be accounted for by genetic factors, while environmental factors accounted for the remaining 70% of variance. This is to say that leadership as a trait is not similar to being born with, for example, blue eyes or brown hair, but it's heavily influenced by the way persons perceive the world and are developed through hard work and lived experiences. So leadership is a skill, and like other skills, while some may be more gifted at it than others, it can still be learned, practiced, and refined. So leadership qualities such as the ability to influence others, a strong mind, and room to change and adapt to situations are all skills that are developed through practice and experience. For example, having the capacity to adapt can be developed and learned by getting more comfortable with feelings of panic in stressful situations and looking for ways to get yourself and put yourself into settings where there's constant change in order to develop those skills. And for example, learn how to keep your heart rate down and look at situations with less panic. So, saying that leaders are born would suggest that outstanding leaders are born to parents who are also leaders. So, logically, developing these leadership skills through deliberate practice would be unnecessary for those born to outstanding leaders. These are false, and several historical examples support this statement. Several people who have built their own calling and developed themselves through their life experiences. For example, Walt Disney came from humble beginnings and grew up in a home with his unassuming homemaker mother, his entrepreneurial father, who failed at most business ventures that he pursued, and four mostly ordinary siblings. Another example is John D. Rockefeller Sr., the richest American in history. His father was a snake oil salesman and abandoned his family when he was younger. Needless to say that logically these men should have not become outstanding leaders because they may not have inherited these genetic traits from their parents. So people assume that becoming a leader is easy. People come in with this assumption because they think that they are the exception to the rule of there being no shortcuts to success. And I can agree that leaders are born because, well, everybody is born. But what separates the true leaders are possessing those characteristics that makes one a good leader. That's not just inherited as a result of your parental genetics, but is developed through years of practice and first-hand experience. Simply occupying a leadership role does not assume that person will be a good leader. Another example is that leaders can emerge in different circumstances. People are confident in different situations. One person may not be able to coach a football team, even if they have a full understanding of football and what it takes to play good football, because they don't have the necessary skills to lead a team of players. But this same person may be an excellent leader in a youth group, like organizing functions and delegating tasks and assisting with bringing people together. So that's why our position is that leaders are made through their own life experience and deliberate practice and not just born into leadership qualities. And that concludes our opening statement.
Thank you. We'll once again be taking a 2-minute intermission. The sitting of the House will now be resumed. Minister of Prancing.
Good day, all who hear me. Now, persons who made history as great leaders are another example of people who demonstrated born leaders. They did not acquire their leadership abilities through education. Between 1883 and 1945, Benito um, Mussolini served as one such leader. Political figure Benito is credited with founding the National Fascist Party of Italy. He was also one of the key individuals who made a significant contribution to development of fascism. Fascism was started by Mussolini in a very organized way, and he later made it a political event. Yeah. Mansosi was well known, and his courage-filled leadership style was a natural trait. He didn't go to a leadership development program to hone his leadership abilities. Mansouri was portrayed as was a portrayal of leadership skills is unmistakable proof that good leaders are born. The necessary internal traits including intelligence, confidence, social skills, and charisma, and that these traits make them leaders who are naturally born. Aside from qualities from birth rather than learning them, Winston Churchill and Margaret Theatre are those two examples of such leaders since World War II. Since Winston Churchill and Margaret Thatcher are regarded as the two most notable British prime ministers. The view that people are born, not made, usually speaks about certain traits and personality types. Person with enough confidence, vision, and intelligence that that have the ability to lead others in an organization. Thank you for listening to my point.
Once again, we're taking a 2 minute intermission. We'll now be resuming the sitting of the House. Santa's Top Chef.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen here in the Parliament, I would like to say leadership. It's a skill, as we have previously established. And like many skills, people are able to learn them, people are able to hone them better over time. The most important thing about that is experience. You know, getting to be able to practice these skills, develop them so that we can make something out of them. And I believe that is the case with leadership. Now you could have people that, they're born with the qualities of a good leader, being a good listener, able to manage tasks. You got some people that they may be born better at doing that type of thing. But this does not stop anyone else from being able to develop those same skills. As people, as humans, we can change. We can change ourselves and we can learn to be better than we were the day before. So, leaders can be made. One example I want to point out is someone by the name of Les Brown's. You know, throughout his life, during going to school, they told him, and keep in mind, pardon my language here, but I am quoting. They told him he was mentally retarded. Right? It's not just like casual bullying. This is one of the teachers there too who was saying it. But you know what? He didn't let that stop him. He did not. Through encouragement from others, he was able to go on time after time to make something of himself. He did not just let that stop him. Sure, he wasn't as intellectually gifted as his peers, but he kept going. He developed his skills, and now he was a minister speaker, right? Now, one point I want to rebuttal here is when they said that people in leadership roles have more brain activity, right? To that, I would say it would make sense that they would have more brain activity. They are a leader. Leaders are tasked with many responsibilities and being able to juggle many different people. They are responsible for these people. So it would make sense. A leader, they got to keep going and going, you know? Got to be able to multitask too. But that's just the thing. They're able to learn these skills. They're able to develop them. They're able to get better and better. Sometimes they may not even succeed the first time. The point is they can keep developing themselves and they can keep going at it again and again till they succeed. That is the main point that I would like to make here. So this topic is that leaders are born, not made. I say no. Leaders can be made. Thank you, Ms. Speaker. That is the end of my rebuttal.
Thank you. We would once again be taking a 2-minute intermission. We will now be resuming the sitting of the House. Minister of Sewing.
Good day, everyone. In the 1990s, the five-factor model was developed. And these factors are extroversion, which is being able to express yourself openly. Then there's emotionality, which is being emotionally resilient and stable. Third, agreeableness, being cooperative and caring with others. Fourth, there's conscientiousness, which is being thoughtful to others within the organization and to yourself. And the fifth factor is openness to experiences, such as creativity and going on adventures. According to this model, leaders are born with these traits, and being open to experiences will definitely mold an individual into becoming a better leader, which is how the former British Prime Ministers Sir Winston Churchill and Margaret Thatcher became such renowned leaders in their time. Their openness to experiences shaped the leader that they became. According to Vroom and Sternberg, 2002, the decision to simply stop trying when faced with a failure or an obstacle is determined by a person's tenacity or determination. Thus, it is extremely difficult to make a leader, since these traits or personalities cannot be trained or taught. That's the end of my point. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. We'll be taking once again a 2-minute intermission. Okay, we will now be resuming the sitting of the House. Minister Chief Toymaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good evening, all members, debaters, mediators. I am Miss Pixie Ayers, and I am the Chief Toy Maker for the team Slaying It. What makes a leader? They have proactive attitude. Great leaders know what to focus on at any given time. Being proactive means they take responsibility in the most effective way. Proactive is equal to active, which means doing. They delegate tasks efficiently. As a leader, they say thank you, they check your work and provide feedback, even explain why you're delegating. They all have positive and productive decision making. They are also approachable. As we know, leaders are on top of the chart. If they are not approachable, how would people learn and how would they lead? They must have an appropriate body language, proper listening skills, and communicate well. So here's another tip. We have nature versus nurture. This is also called genetics versus environment. Genetically, we get our hair, eye color, skin, diseases, and bone structure from our parents. But what we cannot do is learn how to change our eye color, hair type, or even disease permanently. The nurture aspect of things affects our personality and goes through our childhood, through adulthood. So when it comes to the environment, it means it has influence, whether it comes from a friend, a parent, or even a stranger. An example of a person who has influenced into becoming a leader, as mentioned before in the first rebuttal, is Les Brown. He is a motivational speaker. I quote, he said, God took me out of my biological mother's womb and placed me into the heart of my adopted mother. He said, one gave him life and the other taught him how to live. His birth mother was his inspiration. And this is living proof that leaders are not born but made. He went from sleeping on the streets to eating garbage out of the bin into a millionaire, a full-time motivational speaker who inspires thousands of people around the world. So, we have leaders and followers. So being a follower position means that you are looking up to someone or a group that you admire. Being a leader is when you are in control and have power. In order to be a leader, you must start as a follower and work your way up. You cannot start from the top or the midway of a ladder to reach to the top. We must start at step one. I must say, if you go over to Google and research how to become a leader, there's a variety of information. So again, leaders are made and not born. So why do we have like podcasts and books and mentors, teachers and lecturers? If leaders are not made, why do people learn and better themselves and become powerful leaders? Experience equals knowledge. In order to have knowledge, we must learn skills and from other people's experience. As you know, the popular saying, knowledge is power. When we develop a particular skills, we improve ourselves and we could become the best version of ourselves. And this is when the term leader comes in. As mentioned before, Les Brown, who is no longer with us, passed away at the age of 84. He said that his teacher changed his life. One day, the teacher told him to go up to the board and follow his instruction. But however, Les Brown told the teacher that he couldn't do it. But when the teacher asked him why, he answered and said, it's because he was mentally retarded. His teacher warned him not to ever say that again. The teacher said, someone's opinion of you doesn't have to be your reality. So because he did not believe that he could do it, he never did. But Les Brown was affected in the most powerful way. As he said, his heart started to beat and tears ran down his eyes after what his teacher had told
Minister,
him.
your time has expired.
Thank you.
We'll now take a 2-minute intermission. We will now be resuming the sitting of the House. Minister of Stars.
Pleasant good afternoon again to my colleagues, both on my debating team and on the other side. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to begin this debate. Firstly, I would like to reiterate the point that my colleagues made, that leaders are born. Leaders are certainly born and not made. If we examine the doctrine of leadership emergence, which examines the factors associated with one's perception to lead or have leadership qualities by looking at their traits, such as charisma, extroversion, and intelligence, according to Locke 2014. This statement seems to imply that, that we can identify leaders based on their inborn traits, meaning things that are innately embedded in them. If we put this into context, many of us will agree that when placed in a group, we automatically point to or observe someone who we perceive can lead us. This is based not on any prior knowledge, but solely because of certain personal traits that we have observed in that individual. Similarly, with other animal species who emerge as leaders of their group, neither of them has ever sat in a leadership class, but based on sole fact, their inborn traits, they emerge as leaders. This also suggests that naturally, those who are perceived to be leader-like are likely to emerge as leaders. And this is resting soundly on their personal traits that they have been born with. According to John von Rodwitz and London, a gene has been uncovered that may help to create born leaders known as the RS4950 gene, and is an inherited DNA sequence associated with people taking charge. Now, this is the science that we are speaking of here, and not something that could be easily disputed, because the evidence is there and it is grounded in scientific knowledge. This was further compounded in research that found that gene analyzing DNA samples from around 4,000 individuals and matching them to information about jobs and relationships, workplace supervisory roles were used as measurements of leadership behavior. The study suggested that a quarter of the observed variation in leadership traits between individuals could be explained by their genetics. The study showed that a quarter of the observed variation of leadership traits between individuals could be explained by their genes. And if we look at it, leadership is something that is learned and it's something that is taught. Contrary to that, to be a leader, you can only be born a leader. And that will sum up my contribution to the debate, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. We'll once again be taking a 2-minute intermission before the last concluding statement. We'll now be resuming the sitting of the House. Member Chief Decorator.
Good evening, everybody. I am Chief Decorator Bam Bam from the team Slaying It. I would like to wrap up this debate by saying that, in conclusion, there is more evidence, more than enough evidence, that suggests that leaders are not born but made. While there is some evidence, what that suggests that some genetic factors can potentially affect someone's leadership skills, it is really and truly environmental factors, like how, for example, somebody views the world, that ultimately determines somebody's capabilities. While some traits like confidence are seen as an admirable trait for leaders to have, it doesn't magically turn somebody into an actually good leader. Rather, leadership is a skill that can be learned and practiced by pretty much anyone, despite some maybe being a little bit better than others. Nowadays, there are tons of resources that are very much easily accessible thanks to the internet, such as things, for example, like books, podcasts, and even classes, such as this one, Business 203 Leadership and Ethics, that can help teach people from many different backgrounds how to improve themselves and become effective leaders. With these skills, they can learn how to not only improve themselves and overcome challenges, but they can also learn how to work together effectively with other people from a variety of other different backgrounds as well. So that is my conclusion for our debates. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Minister Chief Decorator. Honorable members, the question is, are leaders born and not made? After this hearing today, what do you say? All in favor, say aye. Have a show of hands. Any against? Okay, we will now be taking an 8-minute assessment period before the final ruling is announced.